Hey everyone. It is so good to see you after a year and a half. I'm so happy to be back doing some fragrance reviews with you today. I recently received a shipment from Scent Split with a variety of fragrances that I was interested in. I have over 20 samples, so I'm splitting them up into 3 videos. And today's theme is escape. So either that's a geographical escape if you're from the United States, or an escape to a different time in history. You might hear I'm a little congested today, but I tested all these before that happened, and then I'm just sort of refreshing my memory today. So before I get into these, why does my opinion even matter? Why do you want to spend time listening to me? I love fragrances and have for decades. I've got a large fragrance collection, over 1,000. Most of that for me at this point is an archive. I don't wear them all. I don't like them all. If I end up with a bottle of something that I don't like, I get rid of it and keep a small decant that I file away so that I can refer back to it. And I do have a spreadsheet so I can pull related fragrances to compare later. I'm not going to BS you. I'm a physician in the other part of my life, and I spend a lot of time advising people on how to get the most from the medications that they take and whether a certain medication is worth the money versus a less expensive option. And I love it when something cheap is also good. I love being able to compare for you whether there may be a less expensive option or whether a more expensive option really has some sort of truly unique quality to it that might make it special for you. But as in all fragrance reviews, scent is an incredibly subjective experience. Not only our genetics, but our personal experiences play an incredibly strong role in whether we experience something as pleasant or unpleasant. So what I like, you may not like. I do think it's great to listen to, maybe more than one person's review before you decide to spend money on it, if that's going to be much money. So let's get started. The first several of these are from Carner, Barcelona, which has a very special place in my heart because their fragrance Tardis was, I think, one of my first niche fragrances back in 2010, 2011, maybe something like that. I purchased it at a little shop in Rosemary Beach, Florida called Pish Posh Patchouli. And they had several of the Carner fragrances, and I love going to their counter and smelling the new things when I do go down there for vacations. But I am not reviewing Tardis today. Today, my first one is called El Born. It's named after a historical neighborhood in Barcelona, known for artisan workshops and a really lively atmosphere. So the fragrance is supposed to capture the essence of this area. I've never been, but this is a nice escape for our escape list. The keynotes are angelica, bergamot, lemon, honey, benzoin, heliotrope, fig, Egyptian jasmine, Peruvian balsam, sandalwood, moss, and vanilla. This one it's sweet, but it's light. It is not heavy at all. There's an understated vibrance, if that makes any sense. It may sound like an oxymoron, but I think Carner does this really well. The fragrance sits close to the body. It's not a beast. It's not gonna really extend very far from you once you get the dry down. For most cases, I'm just not gonna wear a beast mode fragrance indoors, and typically not outdoors unless it's cold weather, so that kind of brings the fragrance in some. I think, in especially restaurants, places where other people can't get away from you, then it's not really fair. And my work fragrance preferences are even more restrictive because I'm a physician and I want to keep those as close to my body as I can, like a skin scent or barely more than that, because it can affect the people around me. That being said, El Born is definitely like solid daytime wear and maybe even a work scent. Once you've had this and it's dried down, it's going to stay shorter than arm's length from you. I can definitely see this one seated outside in the spring or the summertime. My final decision on this one, I would pick a full bottle up if I could get it fairly well discounted. These typically go for 160 to 170. That's retail. You can sometimes find these though at discounters for 100 to 150. And then if you get from Mercari or somebody with a used bottle, you get it a lot less than that. Another option would be getting a larger decant. So I'm going to have that on my list of things to look for when I'm shopping discount. Number 2, so this one is called Megalium, and it is also from Carner, Barcelona. The top note is royal cinnamon. Then there's mandarin extract, Indian calamus, which is a woody plant with a resinous scent. Then Indonesian pimento, nutmeg, Indian white pepper, Bulgarian rose, myrrh, olibanum, opoponax, and styrax. A little of the history and why this is an escape fragrance. So Megalium was one of the most famous and luxurious perfumes in ancient Rome. It was mentioned by Pliny the Elder and some of the other writers of the ancient world, and they actually referenced the ingredients, which did vary some. There wasn't such a thing as a copyright on fragrances back then, apparently. But they would have myrrh, acacia, cinnamon, and then some kind of oil base, like olive oil. This one has opoponax in it, which is one of my favorite perfumed resins. And to give you just a little brief lesson in perfumed resins, so resin is the sap from a tree or a woody plant. Opoponax is from a type of tree that is in the same family that myrrh, which is another resin, comes from, but they are different. They sometimes call it sweet myrrh, opoponax. It is less medicinal, and so it just doesn't, to me, get those kind of off odors that come with some of the other resins. It's honey and earthy, and it's sweeter than myrrh. Myrrh is more bitter and sharp. Then another resin is frankincense, which is a little bit brighter. It's almost piney and lemony, and it's more airy. It's not as grounded and warm as the myrrh and the opoponax are. Then there's benzoin, which is often used to give kind of a vanilla scent to things. And it has kind of a creamier, powdery quality to it. But I've told y'all before, benzoin is used to adhere certain surgical dressings. And in my training, I've had enough of the benzoin smell, and I just really don't like it. There is also labdanum, which is not to be confused with laudanum, which is in the opiate family. Labdanum is ambery and deep and kind of leathery and a little animalic in quality. And it doesn't have that kind of sweet warmth to it that opoponax does. And then there's also styrax, which is similar in there with the myrrh and the sweet myrrh. So there's our resin lesson for today. My impressions, this one to me is the most exotic smelling of the ones that I'm reviewing today. It's also, though, very approachable. It's not heavy like you might think given those ingredients. It's strong and it does have a body to it, but it's not cloying, it's not sticky. And that body calms down after the dry down. And I actually think it would be a good spring or summer scent. Carner really does well with making these somehow understatedly wonderful fragrances. And to me, that's just like a favorite concept, the unexpected, understated wonder. So I like this one. I think that it is full bottle worthy, but I will look at FragranceNet and Joma Shop first. The retail price of this one is similar to the other, I think $175 for a 50 ml. And you can find it for about $150 on Joma Shop or FragranceNet on average. So that's Megalium. Then next on the list is Latin Lover by Carner, Barcelona. So this one was released in 2017. It was designed to capture the seductive spirit of a Latin lover. And this is not what I would have expected given that description, not knowing any notes, this is not what I would have expected. It's a white floral with this light, sweet opening magnolia, ylang ylang, bergamot, jasmine, lily of the valley, violet, narcissus. And then there's white musk and benzoin. So you've got all these white and yellow flowers and the musk and the benzoin. Then there's the patchouli that kind of comes and cuts through that. And I just have a little trouble with the patchouli in this. It calms down and the bergamot becomes more noticeable in the dry down. So it becomes more of like a floral citrus. But there's still a hint of that patchouli in there. And I've got a friend who says that some fragrances smell like the bottom of her grandmother's handbag. And that may be your vibe. Do not let me dissuade you. But this is just not for me. That's my angle here. If you like a white floral with a little patchouli in it and a soft citrus, this may be for you. This is a very long-lasting one on the skin. It's not going to be a huge projector, but it's definitely more than a skin scent. So that's Latin Lover from Carner, Barcelona. Our next escape is another Carner. This is called Ambar del Sur. It is part of Carner's history collection, just like Megalium, I believe. It's inspired by a historical period of Al-Andalus in southern Spain, and that period was known for a rich culture and for the use of amber in perfumery. Amber is another resin. So this fragrance is like a luxurious, refined amber with woods and some other resins. So we've got top note of Italian bergamot, and then something they call a gray amber accord, and then water jasmine, Indonesian patchouli, which is a different patchouli than was in Latin Lover, Australian sandalwood, Madagascan vanilla, tonka bean myrrh, and Spanish cistus, which is a labdanum. So this one, the gray amber accord, right there at the beginning, and the bergamot, and then the background of jasmine, and then this patchouli, which, like I said, is not the same patchouli that was in Latin Lover. This is a softer, creamier patchouli. And the sandalwood and the tonka and the myrrh all together are like this creamy background, but not lactonic. So what I mean by creamy is that it smells like all those ingredients are blended together in this homogeneous mixture, and you don't really pick one of them out from one another. And it's a little fluffy because they don't say musk, but maybe just a little musk. So not that it's lactonic or milky at all. At first, I was afraid that this one was going to go a little sour because of the bergamot, but it does not do that at all. The bergamot kind of calms a little bit, and that patchouli peeks through, and it becomes like really nice and complex and rich, but light. Almost like a Chanel patchouli, but a little fresher. Not a beast, but it's got a respectable presence to it. Really nice. This one might be a little more of a cooler weather fragrance to me, so I'm not going to rush to get a bottle of it, but I will keep it on my list. No Carner, for some of their fragrances, makes a small 30 ml. That would be great. Another thing is considering possibly getting a larger decant than the 2 ml bottle. If this is something that you would just use in cold weather months for certain occasions, then why not just buy a 10 ml decant? It'll last you a long time and cost a lot less. So that is Ambar del Sur from Carner. So last Carner fragrance is going to be Bobo. This one is on our escapes, again, because, it's from Spain, but also because it's named after an ancient folkloric dance. And it was apparently like joyful and lively and effervescent. And this has top notes of Italian bergamot, Italian mandarin, black currant, African orange flower, Indian jasmine, lily of the valley, white amber musk, and vetiver. So this one is a musky bergamot fragrance with some florals that kind of round it out. It's only very slightly sweet. It's mostly dry. And this one seems to get a little stronger in the dry down, or at least kind of part of the way through there. It's one of those odd fragrances that do that. It's a nice kind of fancy citrus floral dryer sheet smell. It's very long lasting, stays on clothes a long time, which kind of goes along with that like linen closet smell. For me, that's not really what I want necessarily as a fragrance, um, because it seems more like a good home scent than like a body smell, but I reserve my right to change my mind about that. So right now, it's not going on my list of things that I want to buy, but I might change that in the future. So next up, Torino 21 by Xerjoff. I was influenced to buy this by Demi Rawling. She's mentioned it several times in her videos, and she made it sound so attractive, I wanted to try it. This one starts off with notes of mint and lemon and thyme and basil, and then there's jasmine, rosemary, blackcurrant, lavender, musk, and verbena. The musk here is very light. This is not a fluffy, powdery fragrance at all. This is very much a unisex fragrance. And it may even have been slightly marketed toward men. And the reason that this one is on our list of escapes is because this is named after, it's the ATP Finals tennis tournament that's held every year in Turin. And this is for the one in 2021. It is supposed to evoke the feeling of a tennis match outdoors in the vibrant city of Turin in Italy. It's a Mediterranean herb garden scent, like maybe you're outside and there's some mint, primarily mint, but there's also the lemon and the thyme and the basil, and then also the jasmine and the rosemary and the lavender and the musk and the verbena. All those scents, aside from the mint, are all homogeneously mixed and then added to the mint. So there's just mint along with this mixture that you know is herbal. It's very linear, meaning that the scent in the dry down is very similar to the scent when you first spray it. Summery and light. And I can't say that I haven't smelled another fragrance quite like this. A lot of times, the other fragrances I've smelled that have mint in them have some other aromatic ingredients that just, I don't know, they're screechy or harsh or annoy me after wearing them for a while. But this one is just very different. And I absolutely think Demi Rawling was onto something with this one. Of course she was. I might go back and get a bigger decant of this one. And the reason that I wouldn't buy this as a full bottle is Xerjoff fragrances are really expensive. They start at $215 retail. Sometimes discounters, you can get it for $200 or a little less than that. But I don't see this being a big part of like my regular fragrance wardrobe. There would be certain probably outdoor experiences I would want to wear this for, like in the summer. So a smaller supply would be perfect. So number 7, this is Bergamote 22 from Labo. This one's been around a while, and I was influenced to try it from the perfume guy because he has mentioned it offhandedly a couple of times when he was talking about other fragrances. Like this was something that he compared other bergamot or citrus fragrances to. And so I thought, all right, it's time to smell it. This one, obviously, top notes, bergamot. There's also grapefruit, petitgrain, vetiver, cedar, orange blossom, vanilla, and musk. Musk is pretty light here, and it's a clean musk, not an animalic one. It smells maybe less like bergamot than I was expecting it to. The petitgrain and vetiver, which are 2 ingredients that come from the woody parts of different plants, have an herbaceous quality that I don't love in this fragrance. I think I had in mind maybe something like a bergamot version of Sospiro Vibrato, if you've smelled that one, that grapefruit. God, it's so beautiful. This isn't bad, it's just not my preference. It leans masculine, but that doesn't mean to me that it's something I wouldn't wear. I often like fragrances that people say lean masculine and wear them. Dior Homme Intense being one of those. God, that smells so good. But this one just didn't resonate with me. I will not be buying more. I will be cataloging it along with my others in my little archive that is growing. So that is Bergamote 22 by Labo. So our last one, number 8, is Remember Me by Jovoy. Jovoy is a historic French perfume house, been around forever and was revived in the 2000s. And they're really known for their rich, intense fragrances. And the reason that this is here in our Escapes video is that it is supposed to evoke a sense of warmth and memory. So top notes are cardamom, bergamot, lemon, tea, ginger, frangipani, vanilla, milk, sandalwood, and other woodsy notes. It's sweet, and you definitely get warmth along with the citrus notes. So the citrus notes are not sharp, tangy citrus notes. They're more muted. And the little bit of ginger, again, this isn't like fresh grated ginger. This is more like dry ginger. A little creaminess, but not heavily so. It's a good sandalwood. I don't get pickles. There are some aromatic compounds that are used as part of woody notes that are meant to smell like sandalwood and give a weird dill smell to some people. I am definitely one of those. This does not have that. This one brought some memories when I smelled it. So if you've been to an antique store that has a lot of antiques from Southeast Asia, where there may have been real sandalwood and other woods or maybe incense burned. This isn't incensey, but there's a particular woody smell that I've smelled in places like that. Or even like a Southeast Asian restaurant when they're not cooking anything. That doesn't make any sense, but I'm thinking specifically of a Thai restaurant that I used to go to with my classmates in medical school. A classmate of mine knew the family that owned the restaurant, and he had been in the Peace Corps in Thailand and knew the language, and he had gotten to know them, and they would let us go back into the banquet room and would order family style. And wow, what amazing experiences. But I remember before they brought any food out and we went into that room that was full of all of this beautiful wooden furniture, and there must have been some sandalwood either in the wood itself, or they had sachets or incense or something like that that had burned there. The woody notes in this fragrance remind me of that. So I also do get the black tea and the lemon and ginger, but again, those are muted. They're not sharp. They're not tangy or sour. The opening is definitely fresher than the dry down, which isn't surprising. It has a moderate presence and wears for several hours. It's gonna get, like everything, closer and closer to your skin as you go along. As far as whether I would purchase this one, I don't think so. I have some other citrus tea fragrances that I like better, specifically Dior Tea Cashmere, Maraschino Funny, or Nishane's Wulong Cha, all three of which are very similar, and you don't need all three of them. Buy the Maraschino Funny for $25 or whatever you can get it for on FragranceNet. They are very similar. I know, that woody note in here did evoke some memories. I don't necessarily want to smell like it. So for me, it's not for me, but it might be for you if that sounds like it resonates with you. That wraps up our global and historical escape perfumes, but I've got more reviews on the way. I hope this video inspires you to just enjoy fragrance more, whether you get anything new or not. Part of being human is having these passions and interests, and the challenge is to make sure that they're fulfilling us and not overwhelming us, not making us just try to acquire things because we want to acquire things, but giving us real joy and maybe even connecting us more with each other, which is what I'm hoping to do here with you. So if you have experienced any of these fragrances, let me know in the comments. Also, I would love to hear about any fragrances in particular, fragrance categories that you're interested in hearing more about. I have an extensive collection, like I mentioned before, and I'm happy to go through my spreadsheet and pull some and do some reviews for you if there's something specific you're interested in. So please give me some inspiration in the comments. It was so good to spend time with you again. I will see you soon. Much love.